Hey everyone, we're back in Figma and we're considering prototyping. We're going to look at interactions. I've got some design work here, and this is, I suppose, a part way to some kind of mobile app for our handy client. So I've got a series of sort of main pages here or screen designs here, and we want to link these together to create a prototype to test with our users. So I might just turn off the grid. So we can see what we've got. We've got a home page, and we've got a login page, a home page, some tasks, messages, search page, profile, etc. Now let's go ahead and preview that. Present it. I'm going to present it. And we can see that we've got all of our individual pages, and I can toggle through those. I'm just using the arrow keys on the keyboard here. And that's good, but what I want to actually have happen is that our users can actually come and interact with these buttons and at least use these icons to move from page to page to get a sense of what the app really works, how it actually works. So we're going to create some interactions. So what we'll need to do is we'll need to move over to the prototyping tab. And this is where we do our interactions over here, or set our interactions. So to start with, on this first page here, I'm going to link these buttons to each of their respective pages. So each of these buttons goes to a different page. So I'm going to select on my first button here, and as I scroll around the button, when I'm in the prototyping tab, you can see I get these little handles. Okay, and these handles, when I drag them out, they pull out an interaction wire, I suppose it's called. And I'm going to assign that wire to another element. So I'll just zoom back out a little bit so I can see at least my tasks page. If I drag this from this button to the task, you can see it will want to hook to all sorts of things, but it will hook to my page. And so that means I've created a relationship between this button and this particular screen. And when I click on that wire, it opens up my interaction properties, I suppose. I can also see them up here in my properties panel. So to start with, I've got an on tap up here, but I've got a lot of different actions that I can check for. On tap, I think, makes sense for a button like this because you want to be either clicking it or tapping it with your finger on your phone screen. We'll have a look at some of these. We've already had a look at while hovering and while pressing, but we're going to go through some of these others shortly. But for these buttons, they're going to be a tap, and it's going to be a navigation. We're going to navigate to this particular page. We do have some other options under here, and we'll get to all of those in good time. But we're going to navigate right now to this particular page, and navigate to, and the page that I'm going to choose is listed under here. So these are all of my potential frames that I've set. So if I just zoom out, you can see that I've named all of my frames as I've gone along. So I'll just bring up my interaction properties again. So I'm going to go to my tasks, and I'm going to do that with a transition and a transition of dissolve. So it's going to fade from one screen to the other, and it's going to have some easing, and I'm just going to ease that out. So that means that the velocity of the transition of the fade is going to slow down over a particular amount of seconds, and it's 300 milliseconds at the moment. So it's quick transition, but it'll just soften the cut from one screen to another. I'm just going to leave these properties at the moment, and I think now what we'll do is we'll test. You can see that because I've created an interaction, I've now got this little flow option up here. And so this is the flow, sort of represents the start of the user journey, I suppose. And when I preview now, it's going to start from this flow point here. I've also got this option to preview from the flow that I've created. You can have multiple flows in a project. I'm going to click on the preview button. It's going to open up the inline preview panel. And now you can see that when I roll over that button, there's some potential there. My mouse changes. And if I click on it, it'll transition to that next page. So that's great. That's what we want. That's what we want our users to experience. Let's go ahead and create a few more buttons. So I'm going to link up the messages icon here from my home page, and I'm going to take that to the messages page. All right, so before I dragged out a wire, this time I'm going to come just to the properties panel and create a new interaction by clicking on the plus button. So I've selected my little button graphic there, and I'm clicking the plus, and it's going to create an on-tap interaction, which is what I want again. And I'm going to navigate to a particular frame, and then I'm going to select the frame that I'm going to move to, and I called my messages page messages, so I'm going to select that. So you can see that it's connected that wire in there, and I'm going to do it with dissolve 300 with an ease out of 300 milliseconds. So that's matching the particular parameters of my previous one, and I suppose it'd be a good idea to keep that all nice and consistent. So that experience was the same. Clicking on buttons was the same experience for our users. So I've set that up, and I'm going to go back to flow again, and I'll test it in my inline preview, and I can move to the messages page, which is great. So I'll just quickly set up the rest of those pages. Search is going to on tap, navigate to the search page, and it's going to dissolve, and finally I'll add a final navigation interaction to my profile button, navigate it to the profile page. And I'll just test one of those again. So we're going to go over to the profile. All of these buttons now live. I'm heading over to the profile page. All right, so we've got some basic interactions set up, and that's going to allow us to more or less create the main navigation elements to our prototype.